You know, one of the things that provides some much needed comfort when I wake up in my neighbour's garden in a pool of my own urine is, well, at least I don't have to work at Lucasfilm. I mean, damn man, I can only imagine the workplace atmosphere there must be a bit like the restaurant on the Titanic an hour after hitting the iceberg. Everyone's still there and still going through the motions, but it all must seem increasingly pointless in a wider context. Not only have they presided over the disastrous Star Wars sequel trilogy that saw a 50% decline in box office revenue from the first to the last movie, not to mention entire stores filled with shelf after shelf of unsold merchandise, but they also managed to produce the only Star Wars film in history to actually lose money.
Well, when all else fails, fresh tactics.
That's right, John Travolta, and in this case, their fresh tactic was to churn out as many cheap, rushed and badly written Star Wars TV shows as possible on Disney Plus, in what I like to call the throw a bunch of shit against the wall and hope something sticks approach. And funnily enough, this approach eventually backfired with the release of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi and The Mandalorian Season 3, basically the holy trifecta of shit.
This is the way.
This is the way.
If the sequel trilogy had put Star Wars on life support, then I'm pretty sure the Disney Plus shows pulled the plug altogether. But it's not just the movies and TV shows that have fallen apart. The opening of the Galaxy's Edge theme park was a great chance for them to revive interest in the brand, giving fans a chance to interact with their favourite characters like Luke Skywalker, or Han Solo, or Princess Leia. That was the idea at least, until Kathleen Kennedy bravely stepped in and mandated that the whole place had to be themed around the sequel trilogy instead. You know, the one that nobody actually liked and didn't buy any merchandise for. Nice job, Kathy. I can definitely see why you were made president of Lucasfilm. But imagine our shock when nobody was interested in going to Galaxy's Edge.
No way!
And then there was the Galactic Star Cruiser. Tell me, would you be interested in spending $6,000 a night to play dress up with a bunch of amateur dramatic actors in a generic looking space themed hotel that could be from basically anywhere, based around a trilogy of movies that you probably didn't even like in the first place? Nah, me neither, which probably explains why nobody fucking went to it, and their billion-dollar project had to be closed down after barely a year. But their failures weren't confined to a galaxy far, far away, dear viewer. Oh no, there was plenty of other properties left to destroy right here on Earth. Like Willow, the unwanted low-budget TV sequel to a not particularly popular 1980s fantasy movie that went down so well, Disney Plus actually removed it from their server altogether. I mean, if I was them, I'd probably lock it in a fucking vault and dump it in the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. But there was one property that hadn't been completely bulldozed into the ground quite yet. The King of Adventure, one of the most iconic heroes in cinematic history. Indiana Jones. Undeterred by their seemingly endless string of creative and financial failures, Lucasfilm bravely resurrected him for one final adventure, mostly so that he could pass on the whip and fedora to a younger, cheaper, and more diverse actor that could be safely milked for another decade or two. Sure, they didn't have George Lucas coming up with ideas or Steven Spielberg directing anymore, but who cares? They were probably overrated anyway, and I'm sure today's batch of top-notch creatives are more than a match for previous generations of filmmakers. And to really guarantee their success, Lucasfilm brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge to star opposite Indy and show him how things are done in 2023. I mean, I don't really know why every exec in Hollywood seems to think she's destined to be the next big thing, but whatever. Every once in a while, Hollywood just seems to become obsessed with random British comedians and tries to shove them into everything. Tell me, how did that work out with James Corden, guys? And no, we're not taking him back. Either way, Lucasfilm were determined to make this movie into a success, no matter how much money they had to throw at it, which probably explains why they ended up reshooting the same movie like 3 times over in a never-ending quest to produce something that wasn't complete dog shit. I mean, produce something that they could all be truly proud of. And proud they apparently were. So much so that they screened the movie at the Cannes Film Festival and lifted the review embargo more than a month before the film's release. A decision which I'm pretty sure they regret now. But hey, let's take a look at some of these gems, shall we? Like this one from the good old BBC. I'm not sure how many fans want to see Indiana Jones as a broken, helpless old man who cowers in the corner while his patronising goddaughter takes the lead, but that's what we're given, and it's as bleak as it sounds.
Not a great plan.
Or how about this one from IndieWire? Not only is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny an almost complete waste of time, it's also a belaboured reminder that some relics are better left where they belong. If only previous entries in this series had taken great pains to point that out. Or how about this one from the Daily Telegraph? The Dial of Destiny ultimately feels like a counterfeit of priceless treasure. The shape and the gleam of it might be superficially convincing for a bit, but the shabbier craftsmanship gets all the more glaring the longer you look. The film's loaded with mayhem but painfully short on spark and bravado. There's no shot here, no twist of choreography that makes you marvel at the filmmaking mind that conceived it. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not exactly pumped for this one. Basically, everything that we all predicted when this movie was first announced seems to have come true. It's an overblown, overhyped and unnecessary sequel to a franchise that should have ended 30 years ago, built around an actor that's far too old for this stuff now, with the unwelcome addition of a smug, unlikable female lead that's clearly being groomed to replace him. Oh wait, I was talking about The Force Awakens. Dial of Destiny, on the other hand, seems like an overblown, overhyped and unnecessary sequel to a franchise that should have ended 30 years ago, built around an actor that's far too old for this stuff now, with the unwelcome addition of a smug, unlikable female lead that's clearly being groomed to replace him. Ah, that's better. And what makes it even worse is the insane amount of money that's been spent trying to polish this turd. Almost 300 million according to most estimates. Not only does that make it more and more difficult to actually turn a profit, but it usually results in a shitty end product as well. You can always tell a movie that the studios lost confidence in and started messing with, because at best it ends up as a safe, boring, designed by committee corporate product with no heart or soul to it, and at worst a bloated, choppy mess that tries to balance the needs and ideas of far too many people. Either way, it becomes something that nobody wants to see. So basically what I'm saying is that Indy 5 is shaping up to be a flop of epic proportions, and probably the last nail in the coffin of Lucasfilm as a creative entity. At this point, they've become like some kind of reverse King Midas. Everything they touch seems to turn from gold into steaming piles of dog shit. They're a studio that's run out of ideas, run out of creative energy, and most importantly, run out of franchises to ruin. This is it. This was the last one, and they completely blew it. If this was any other studio, in fact, any other company in Hollywood at all, I'd be willing to bet that the entire leadership team would have been fired years ago for this shit. I mean, really, how many hundreds of millions of dollars do you have to lose before your investors decide enough is enough? How many fans do you have to push away and alienate? How many toys have to get sent to landfill because nobody fucking wants them? Lucasfilm is, quite simply, a joke now. A cruel, expensive, destructive joke to be sure, but a joke all the same. A company founded by geniuses and inherited by morons. A studio that's spent billions of dollars and hasn't produced a single worthwhile product in decades. A parasite that sucks the life and soul out of everything it touches and leaves behind broken, withered husks in its wake. And maybe The Dial of Destiny will be the movie that finally kills it. If so, I'm not gonna shed any fucking tears for them. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.